planned, hey, this guy could be an every down defensive end?
Well, we had my vision of Micah when he was on the board on draft day was he was an impact player. That was the term that we continued to speak of him and how we would utilize him too. So I mean, if you go back to the spring, we right away put him at Sam on the line of scrimmage and base, and then played him in sub at the Mike and the Will. So I mean, I think ideally that's the way you like to play him. So, but he's doing an excellent job adjusting with the opportunity that he has right now to play on the line of scrimmage more. So he's doing a lot of really good things. He's impacting games, and most importantly, we've got to make sure we keep giving him those opportunities.
Was Clay Matthews a guy that you looked at and said, okay, he can do some of these same things, or do you not get to that point when you're thinking of what he can do in the spring?
I mean, there's similar abilities, but we view Clay more outside and then moved inside. I mean, Clay played off the line of scrimmage at USC, but when he was drafted, he was selected as an outside linebacker in the 3-4 scheme as his primary position. I thought when we moved Clay back to the Mike, I thought he was extremely productive. Where I would look at Mike at starting off the ball and then coming up to the line of scrimmage. So, but I think clearly for rookies and how you utilize them in your defense, very similar approach. I mean, you want to make sure those guys have plenty of opportunities to impact the game.
The circumstances with injuries actually kind of accelerated where you wanted him to get to as you went along? I mean, as far as versatility and going in and out?
I mean, definitely. I mean, just look the way we repped him in training camp. I think that was obvious. You look at the way how all the reps, as far as the different groups we were getting through. I mean, when you get in a training camp, you're in an install phase. You're trying to, make sure you're just having many different combinations of offensive, defensive personnel as possible. You're trying to get through, your primary, secondary, auxiliary concepts. So make sure your menus are, have the volume that you're looking for. Especially in early season football, we've had two uncommon opponents, in both the Chargers and now the Panthers. So with that, you have to be flexible and change. And at the end of the day, you want to operate in the concepts that you have a lot of reps in. I think just a general philosophy. Think of players, not plays, especially in tight spots in a game. It's no secret that the players are more comfortable. With play calls or things they have a lot of reps in. So, I mean, you just don't ever want to get too far away from that.
How will this sort of every down rushing experience help him if he gets back to maybe a little bit more of a traditional linebacking role?
How would it help him? I think it helps because I think it helps on a number of fronts. He becomes more versatile in his alignments. With his opportunities to create matchups. It definitely helps the other players because with his ability to make impact, he's definitely a targeting indicator as far as what the offenses are looking for. So they're definitely more aware of him. So with that comes the opportunity for the other players to maybe have more one-on-one opportunities, particularly in rush, because he's been impactful as a rusher on the edge, and he'll definitely have the same impact from off the ball and inside. So I think there's a lot of things that come out of his opportunity of playing on the line of scrimmage.
If I can get you to go back in the Wayback Machine here for a second with Brady going back to New England, what was that like for you in 2009 when Favre came back?
When he came back to Green Bay?
Yeah, what was that week like? What do you remember about it?
I remember we lost. That wasn't very good, but no, I think the biggest thing was keeping the focus on the game, for the players. I think just like anything, as a head coach, you want to keep it about the main thing, and the main thing was to win that game. And there was obviously a lot of emotion around that game that really had nothing to do with who was going to win and who wasn't. But yeah, it's definitely I'm sure it's an emotional time for some people, but at the end of the day, both teams are there to play and win the game.
Were you more conscious of that message that week because of everything, what Brett meant, how long he played up there and everything like that?
More conscious of it?
You just say, hey, let's not get caught up in that.
I would say not really, because we actually played them in Minnesota first. So I think that game was more, there was a lot of energy around that game. Frankly, I think it was a Monday night game too. So, but yeah, I think by the time we got to the second game, we kind of, in my memory, serves me right, we're past that, because I mean they obviously had a heck of a football team. They played an NFC Championship game, and we also, we're a playoff team too. So we were just kind of finding our stride there at the end of the year.
There were a string of plays in the first quarter Sunday where the offense was only in 12 personnel.
I'm sorry, Mike, I missed the first part of it.
There were a string of plays Sunday in the first quarter where the offense was entirely in 12 personnel. What's the value of that grouping for you guys, being able to do a number of different things into it? Does it allow you some advantages with relates to personnel with the defense?
Yeah, I mean, without deep diving, too far in the scheme part of it, I think anytime, you're in 12 and 11, I've always viewed offense, it conceptually, you're either one back concepts, two back concepts, or no back concepts. So the beauty of 12 is you still have the ability to really, really focus more in a two-back mindset. And it's not that you have two backs in a backfield. It's to run the ball with three-man surface or four-man surface type runs. So, it puts more stress on the run defense. So 12 gives you that flexibility, especially with our tight ends. So we can get in displacement formations, play more one-back, but also get into the more compact formations and run the ball. Because, at the end of the day, running a football is a lot easier when you're in a run-pass mode, but there's always times in game where you need to line up and give your run, give the run blocking unit a chance to get white knuckles and get off the ball and go get it. So, and because it's, that there's always times, especially the way we're playing when our production early in games, you want to, be in a 4-minute offense, and you're running it. They know you're running it. That's that's a quality run game. So it's the opportunity to get into those opportunities early in the games that 12 personnel gives you.
What have you seen from Dalton Schultz from where he was when you were reviewing this team when you took over to what he's done since you've been here going forward?
Didn't know a whole lot about him, but I think he was definitely a guy that's very smart, very detailed. Always asked good, a lot of questions, good questions early in the process. And it's just, and his leadership has been growing, with his performance. So, he had an opportunity last year that, he's has taken full advantage of. I mean, it's, it's definitely given us, a really good 1-2 punch with him and Blake. I mean, it's, I think teams clearly got to identify how they want to play those two guys, because, I think Kellen's and the staff's done a great job conceptually moving those guys around, and that flexibility is something we need, and frankly, it carries over to matchups in the passing game.
Looking ahead to Sunday, what stands out about Sam Darnold and how they working him in his first year in Carolina?
Yeah, he looks comfortable. I think that's the first thing that I see. Obviously, I think like anything with a young quarterback that's had some tough years, early in New York, statistically you see some things that he may struggle with and so forth, and then you match it to this year's tape. And I think that's why you got to kind of watch. You got to watch statistics. I mean, I think statistics are they're guidelines, and you have to look inside of the guidelines and study the tape. But he looks very, very comfortable in his Carolina offense.
Is 3 games enough of a universal tape for your defensive coaches, or do they go look at some of the stuff from the Jets?
We've been looking at, I think you get into that the first 4 or 5 weeks. Just even when you get into the player profile tapes. Last week we had to go back and look at some college tapes. The beauty of today's NFL is you have the resources to grab tape, from college and pro, and it's all at your fingertips. And our quality control coaches, I can't say enough about that. We have 6 guys. We call it the pit. Just the amount of information that those guys pump out, and they do a phenomenal job for our coaching staff and our players.
When you look at the athleticism of Carolina's pass rushers and the quick get off by Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns, what are some of the challenges that they present?
Well, I mean, definitely I think that is a snapshot of how they're playing. They're really crowding the ball, getting off on the ball. There's a lot of activity. I think they do a really good job finishing plays, both offensively and defensively. So, we're treating this game as an uncommon opponent. I think they have, 8, 9 players that were in this game back in 2018. So, we've recognized that this is a roster that's changed a lot. And, this is similar to the Chargers preparation. So, we just, we're spending more time than you probably in a normal week's flow on the video, because we got to make sure we know these guys, and but they're playing with good juice. I've been impressed with their first 3 games.
The Philly defense was off to a good start coming in here, and Carolina comes in with the #1 defense. What gives you the confidence that your offense can kind of do its thing regardless of what's being presented on the other side?
Well, I think it's a common mindset you have to have in this league, and it's the focus on the things that you do well and build off of that, but also be accountable and cognizant of the things you need to improve on. I mean, we had a nice win Monday night, by no means do we got this thing figured out. There's things we can do better. We need to stay in cleaner opportunities with our pre-snap operation. We can finish better, and this is going to be a big challenge with the way they're playing. So that's the beauty of this league. It's a grind every week. So they're on a 10-day schedule, and we're on a short week schedule. So that's all part of the challenge.
Can Connor do to clean up the holes? Just not hold? I mean,
Say again?
What can Connor do to clean up the holes other than just not hold? Is there technique issues?
Well, I think in both of his, when you watch the tape, it's both times he got caught with a grab. And the one was, it was really tight inside. You don't normally get that in there. So, yeah, I'm not going to, we coach, every play is graded. Every grade is, gets a technical grade, and you continue to work on those things. So, based off what the officials saw and so forth, I got enough on my plate.
Going back to what you said about the quality control guys, I'm just curious, as long as you've been around the NFL, do you have more information now than maybe you did in the past, or is it just easier to get that information?
I would say you have more instant information tied to video clearly than you had 20, 30 years ago. I mean, I look back at the 90s. I mean, when you were on Betacam and you had catalog numbers, I mean, it'd take forever just to get the catalog numbers onto the video. That was an hour process. Then you had to get that typed in, and then just to make a normal flow of cut-ups. Where now, I mean, hell, PFF has them out right after the game, so a little plug for them. But it's you're able to get the video, with the coaches tape. So I just think the speed of information tied to the video is so much more accessible, and I think what it really teaches you have to have a discipline of what are you actually going to use, because this is definitely the era of football where too much is definitely the challenge, as opposed to not enough information, in my experience.
Were days longer as a coach 20, 30 years from now, before the advent of film and all that, or is it because you're able to work smarter, not harder, or is it just you're putting in long hours no matter what? It's just more in depth. How do you compare how technology has impacted the coach's game?
Well, I think as I stand up here in front of you, you can see it was a lot harder in the old days. So it's once again, I think you had to work harder to get the cut-ups and the teaching tapes and get it to the level that you were looking for 20 years ago. Clearly, where today. The players have instant access to what we're giving them too. So I would clearly say it's, without a doubt, it's a lot easier today than it was even 10 years ago.
Is the coaches like that the all-22 is so available publicly? Or is that, I mean, because so many things.
Hey, anything to help the media and the public, man, we're all about it. I mean, I don't even know why. You should just bring the damn game plan in there and throw it up, and I could get out of here early. So I mean.
So that's a no?
Oh, man. It's the world we live in. So.
Andy, is it difficult to discipline yourself? Because like you say, you can have information overload, but there's always the thing of, well, maybe if I just watch 30 minutes more, I'll find something I'm not sure about. How do you and the staff kind of draw that line on where? I
mean, you got to have systems, you got to have processes. I think that's, really the big part of the head coach. I think that's why you spend so much time. I don't think that's why we spend so much time on scheduling, expectations of what a meeting looks like, expectations of what a game plan looks like, expectation of how you practice. You have 4 practice formats. This is exactly what we wanted there, because I just think, like anything, too much is probably a bigger danger and not enough right now. But because the reality of it is, it's football, and you got to keep it that way for the players. I mean, if we have all this great information and have the greatest cut-ups and the greatest game plan and the greatest profile tapes, and it's slowing the players down, then that's an issue. You know, our job is to make the players, help them, you know, play faster and see things quicker and have a cleaner process so they can play with great energy and you know, they're not a step slow. We want to be a step faster than our opponent. So and that's what I look. That's a big part of my job is, you know, are the meetings the right way, or are we conceptually teaching? You know, we're not rote memory with you know, because everybody learns different, especially in today's generation than, you know, the last generation. So that's a big part of coaching today's athlete.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.